Crimson Trace announces Laser Guard Pro for today's most popular concealed carry firearms, combining a red or green laser sight with 150 lumen light, taking personal defense to the next level. Available now at your local dealer.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email Tom at guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, back with you. We're talking about, long-range rifle shooting, different kinds of rifles, all sorts of things. If it has anything to do with shooting, we'll talk about it here. Well, as long as we keep safety and responsibility firmly in mind. Also, don't forget, we just launched the new season. We got new episodes of First Person Defender on Gun Talk's YouTube channel, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV channels, on the Facebook page for Gun Talk. Just check out guntalk.com. It's got all the links there. First Person Defender, of course, is where we take regular people, drop them into self-defense situations, and see what happens. Could be, whoa, God, just got through shooting one. This is going to be amazing. An attack in a public bathroom. Again and again, we keep getting that same thing. I gave it an acronym, INTOT, I-N-T-O-T. I never thought of that. Yeah, I know. That's why we work with trainers. That's why we do what we do. Pretty cool stuff. Lots of interesting things there. Now, here's the deal. When you are a student of guns, gun rights, gun control, you become a student of history. It is inevitable. It is required. There's simply no way around it. And then you start your studies, and eventually, sooner or later, you will come across the name Stephen Halbrook, because his work is, in many cases, seminal. He has a new book out. He joins us right now. Stephen, thank you for joining us. Fascinating. The new book is titled Gun Control in Nazi-Occupied France, Tyranny and Resistance. The obvious question is, why did you write this book?
Oh, first of all, Tom, thanks for having me back on the show again. I wrote the book. It goes back a long time, but many years ago, they tried to get gun registration passed in the U.S. Congress, and it keeps coming back every now and then. And back in 1968, when they tried it in a major way, they said that the Nazis never tried to disarm anybody, and they never used registration lists to disarm victims that they wanted to persecute. So I got interested back then. Since then, I've been through many archives in Germany and France, and this book is based on what really happened. And to make a long story short, and this goes for so-called universal background checks being proposed today, because that's another form of registration. 1935 in France, they decreed gun registration. In 1940, the Nazis came. The French police worked for the Nazis. They had the registration list. And it was a capital offense. If you didn't turn in your gun in 24 hours, you would be executed. And so what a perfect world for gun control. And what was phenomenal is that a lot of people still didn't turn their guns in. A lot of French people refused to do so, and a lot of them were shot for it, but it also made possible to have a resistance movement.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask you. You said, okay, you were required to turn in your guns. They had a list. They knew who had them, registration. And it was a capital offense. The question is, did they actually kill people for not turning in their guns?
Oh, yeah, it was in all the newspapers. The German officials would have your name published if you were shot for any reason, including gun possession, and that made its way to the American newspapers. That's one reason why it's so embedded in our political culture not to have gun registration. We learned the lessons, and when it keeps coming up today, the people forgot about all that. I mean, you read the New York Times from the 1940s, and you'll see lots of names of French people shot for gun possession. And one good thing, though, a lot of them were stubborn, and they didn't register their guns in the first place. And they ended up hiding them. They buried them. They did all the things that they say you're paranoid if you do it. And those guns live to talk another day. I mean,
well, that's how we got the French resistance.
That's right. And the guns weren't the best for that, because they also banned a lot of guns, the kind of guns that today would be called assault weapons. So you couldn't own certain kinds of guns, so-called military style. They used military calibers. But nonetheless, it still provided a basis for, if you were in the earlier resistance, especially when you had a handgun, that was absolutely necessary to protect yourself.
Now, I just want to put this out here, Stephen, because you're never going to do it, okay? But for those who are wondering, okay, who is this wacko guy who's talking about confiscation and Nazis and all? Well, let's see. Stephen's got a Ph.D. in philosophy from Florida State University and a J.D. law degree from Georgetown University Law Center. Also has argued in one case before the Supreme Court and has written a whole stack of books. So I wanted to get that out there because you're never going to be the one to tell people that, Stephen. But you got credentials, a mile long, so you don't just kind of make this stuff up, and you're not some paranoid guy who's down in this bunker making this stuff up.
Right. I wrote a book 5 years ago called Gun Control in the Third Reich, Disarming the Jews and Enemies of the State. People act like that never happened. They could do the Holocaust, but they didn't disarm anybody. I mean, excuse me. And I've written also books on the Second Amendment, and I mean, all this comes together. And they're all lessons of history, and so you have to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I really first started becoming aware of what you did with the book That Every Man Be Armed, which is a quote from Patrick Henry.
That's right. I did that book. I did a book called The Founders' Second Amendment. I did a book on Reconstruction when, after the Civil War, the Southern states disarmed African Americans and how the 14th Amendment was meant to guard against citizens being disarmed. So, these are all things that happen in history. They're part of our history. One thing I've done in these two books about Nazi gun control is to basically say, okay, in the introduction, there's a controversy in our country about this stuff. You can say what you want to say, and I'm not going to mention that subject anymore. I'm just going to tell you what happened in Germany, what happened in France, and wherever else. And then you decide, and that's where we stand. I mean, you want extreme gun control, you want confiscation, well, you're going to have a bitter pill to swallow at some point.
All right, let me ask you, because one of the things I've said in the past is when you're doing the debate on gun control, and people will say, well, that's what Hitler did. That generally kind of stops the conversation, and the other side then gets to mock you or make fun of you for saying, oh, yeah, the Nazis confiscated guns and they did gun control, therefore we shouldn't do it. But your books obviously prove that is, in fact, true. That is historical fact. My question is there a good way for us to bring this information into a discussion or a debate?
Well, there is. What I find phenomenal is what you hear in response. Okay, so Hitler disarmed the Jews, and so there's an anti-gun person who's criticized my work, and he said, well, they only disarmed the Jews. They let other Germans have all the guns they wanted. Well, not true. They disarmed all of their political opponents. They did that before they disarmed the Jews. And even if it was only the Jews, I mean, hello, doesn't that tell you something? Before the war started, for a Jew to have a gun, as of 1938, it was 20 years in a concentration camp. They didn't want any resistance. You can argue all you want about whether Jews could have resisted, and certainly individuals could have resisted in individual circumstances. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising shows what they could do when they had guns in their hands. So, no, they couldn't have prevented the Holocaust, but yes, they could have protected themselves, protected their lives better, and that's a universal lesson. I mean, every country the Nazis went to that they occupied, they imposed a death penalty for not turning your guns in. And what I find phenomenal in terms of people who want to disarm those today, even the death penalty didn't give a lot of people incentive to turn their guns in. They kept them anyway. So no matter what you do to Americans, I mean, the thing about Americans, they're pretty stubborn, and we learned our lessons right before the revolution. This topic helped start the revolution. Americans aren't going to give up their guns. That's the way it is. So, why don't you try the death penalty?
To put a fine point on it, the revolution started because of gun control or gun confiscation.
Right.
The first shots of the American Revolution. I mean, that's what Lexington Concord was about.
Right. And not many people know, however, which I detail in my book, Founders' Second Amendment, that General Gage, the commander of the British forces, disarmed the people of Boston after Lexington and Concord. So they weren't just disarming militiamen or those who might oppose the British Army. They were disarming individual citizens. And that was one of the reasons cited by the Continental Congress for taking up arms against Great Britain.
All right, here's a loaded, terrible phrase, a loaded question for you. Has there ever been a genocide in modern days that was not preceded by gun registration and then gun confiscation?
I mean, it would be laughable. Why would you want to do that? If you want to kill people, if you're a tyranny, why would you want to let them have guns? I mean, the whole idea of registration to start off with, it means that the government doesn't trust people. Whether that leads to something worse, only time will tell. I mean, we have it. It's in California. It's in Hawaii. It's in New York to some extent. But, okay, we haven't had terrible things happen there. I mean, we have failed states and taxes are too high. But you never know what it's going to lead to. And in the countries where it leads to something worse, I mean, you can go down the list. There's Cambodia, there's Uganda, there's Nazi Germany, there's Soviet Union, there's China, Communist China. Mm-hmm. So
you mentioned New York. It's one of those deals that we say, yes, they have registration. People say, well, they haven't, confiscated guns. Well, actually, they have. If you forget to re-register your gun, they come and knock on your door and take your guns. If any of a number of other violations, they come to your door and knock on your guns, and they have a list printed out, and they said, these are the guns that you own, that you have registered. We are here to get them all. So you cannot physically, it is a physical impossibility to institute a confiscation scheme if you don't already have registration. Would that be fair to say?
That's fair to say. And at one point in our history, rifles were good, handguns were bad. New York City required long gun registration in the 60s, and they said you're a kook if you think registration would ever lead to confiscation. Well, guess what? In the 1990s, they declared many, many rifles to be so-called assault weapons, and they had their registration list, and they were banned, and they sent you a letter. And if you didn't respond to the letter, they would come knocking on your door. So, I mean, that's a clear example of registration then leading to confiscation.
The French figured that out. If you didn't respond, they would come and knock on your door, and if you didn't turn them in, they would pull you out into the street and shoot you.
That's right. I mean, that's in the record. And another phenomenal thing, by the way, about the French experience, they would publish names, but then it got to be nothing would work. So then they would declare an amnesty, and they would debate, well, we just shot people for not turning in guns yesterday. Why are we going to let them turn them in today? So they would have amnesties periodically, but then that wouldn't work. The leader of the SS in France was saying, gee whiz, these French people, we gave them an amnesty, they didn't turn them in. And so then they instituted what they called the Night and Fog Decree, where we're no longer going to publish the names of people, they're just going to disappear. And they thought that would create more fear and terror among the population just by having people disappear without ever saying whether they were executed or deported to a concentration camp or a death camp or wherever.
Exactly. Well, the title of the book is Gun Control in Nazi-Occupied France, Tyranny and Resistance by Stephen Halbrook. It's available on Amazon as well as a lot of other places where guns are sold. Stephen, congratulations on not just this book, but on your collection of work, your body of work. It is important in the scholarship of the Second Amendment.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
All right, you take care. All right, 866-TALK-GUN, open lines. What have you been shooting? Give us a holler.
Face it, sometimes more is better. That's the idea behind the double-stack, full-capacity pistols from Springfield Armory. From the groundbreaking XD to the ergonomic XDM to the latest refinements in the XD Mod 2 series, you can get subcompact, midsize, and full-size pistols in 9, 40, and 45. Carry, target, or tactical models. Fast, accurate, dependable. Don't come up short when it matters. Go full cap. Go Springfield Armory. Springfield-Armory.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But do you know you could use more training? Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Batagroup. Learn specific concealed carry skills from top gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. The time is now to band together. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Laser sights increase confidence, regardless of experience level. Whether you're learning the fundamentals, a seasoned shooter, or simply overcoming aging eyes, laser sights provide instant feedback, providing immediate confidence and enjoyment for a new shooter. Call 800-442-2406 or visit crimsontrace.com for a free copy of our laser training video, The Laser's Edge, and learn more about why Crimson Trace is making laser sights standard equipment.
We have breaking news. After another year of campus carry in Georgia, nothing happened. I'm sorry. You were expecting blood running in the streets and lots of shootouts and people going crazy. Yeah, no. It didn't happen again. Once again, no reports. Once again, nothing happening. I was reading this great write-up on it. It said, it wasn't blood spilled on campus, but ink spilled by newspapers predicting a Holocaust. The only thing murdered was the truth, as the news media deliberately ignored that mass murderers choose gun-free zones. Oh, gosh, time and time again. I mean, how many times have we seen it over the last 30 years where in a particular state they're talking about how we're going to pass concealed carry? Well, blood will run in the streets. Every fender bender will turn into a shootout. Says people will shoot each other for parking spaces. And then we get concealed carry, and there's like a story on page B12 of the newspaper that says, yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary. Sheriff so-and-so said he was very surprised. He's had no problems with it. That's it. That's all you got. All right. Line 1, Rhett's with us out of Coos Bay, Oregon. Hello, Rhett. You're on Gun Talk.
How you doing? So I'm just wondering now. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm just wondering. Now they got rid of Backpage.com. It's a great gun forum, buy and sell privately. Where can a guy look for private buy and sell guns anymore?
A lot of places. I got to tell you, honestly, I'd never heard of Backpage, so maybe that was one of the reasons that it went down. Are you familiar with Gunbroker?
Trafficking thing involved there or something, but it was awesome for gun sales, buying forum.
Okay, let me ask you, Rhett, are you familiar with Gunbroker?
Yeah, I am, but that seems to be a lot of dealers on there, and, it doesn't seem to be local to me, whereas as Backpage was local to me, it would have been like in the same city I'm in. Joe over here is selling a 22 or something, and, you can go over and look at it and talk to Joe and buy it,
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with Backpage. Like I said, never heard of it. Gunbroker, obviously, you can put guns on there as an individual, and there are individuals who have them. And, yes, there are a lot of dealers who have them. As far as it being local, yeah, if you want to go over and see it, I guess that's one thing. Obviously, you can buy off a Gunbroker and have it shipped to a local dealer. But I don't know. And certainly you're not going to be doing it on Facebook. Can't do that.
No.
That's out the window. So I don't know what the replacement would be. I tell you what, we'll throw it out to the collective knowledge base out there. If people have an idea of what might replace something like that, or could be some kind of forum for online, not sales, but a get together to notify, to put up ads, that type of thing. And look, I know. And thanks, Red. I appreciate the call. There may be people who are listening going, well, that would be illegal. Well, no, it wouldn't actually. Depending on the state, in almost every state, though, You could do a face-to-face sale with a gun, in-state to in-state. So you're a resident, he's a resident, she's a resident. You can do the sale without going through a dealer. If you're buying from one state to another state, you can find the gun online, identify it, and then the person in another state has it shipped to a firearms dealer in your state. You go to the gun store, and then you institute the paperwork and the background check. Everything is absolutely legal. Nobody's trying to get around the law here. We're actually, it's the weirdest deal. So many times I hear people say, well, you guys are just trying to get around the law. You're trying to evade the law. No, actually, it's like the famous, infamous, non-existent gun show loophole. No, when you go to a gun show, all the laws apply. State, local, federal laws all apply. And when you buy a gun from a dealer, you have to do the paperwork. If you buy from an individual, depending on the state, you don't have to do the paperwork. You know what that's called? That's called complying with the law. How about that? Pretty cool, huh? Franco's on line 3 out of Mason City, Iowa. Hey, Franco, you're on Gun Talk.
Hey, Tom. It was interesting you opened up the show with the RPR and the 6.5. I'm waiting for it to show up at my gun store. Cool. And I'm wondering, I paired it with the ATN 4K Pro, the 5 to 20. Okay. And I'm not all that experienced. I'm not experienced at all with longer distance shooting. I'm just wondering where average, the slogan is, 1,680 yards, enough said. I don't even know if there's any place that I could sight it in or have 1,680 yards. Where would a normal guy, or what's the best deal, best place? Or all right,
let me jump in because we have very little time. If you're looking for a place to shoot long range, go to wheretoshoot.org. That's wheretoshoot.org, and they will have a list of ranges. Also, ask at your local gun store. Visit 2 or 3 gun stores and say, look, where can I shoot long range around here? And they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, Joe over there, he's got a place, and et cetera, et cetera. Or find out where a long range competition is taking place. You can find that out. So there are a lot of ways to find it. You just kind of start the process. And when you find it, you'll find an awful lot of people who are willing to help you. It's just that way with gun folks.
Gun Talk encourages you to support the local sporting goods store, gun stores, ATV dealers, and other local businesses in your area who advertise on this station and Gun Talk. Only together can we protect our rights. You're listening to Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
Here's a scenario that ought to bother you. You're away from home. You get this alert on your phone. You realize you can look at your video. There's somebody slinking around outside your house. You call the house because your wife is at home. You let her know, and then she does whatever she needs to do. Crisis averted. I mean, honestly, that's what having security cameras are all about. That's what we do with the Blink system. I've been using this thing for, I guess, 2 years now. Works like a charm. Just simple to set up. I've had several people say, well, what's that code? Don't worry about it. We got rid of the code. It's easy. Here's the deal. The Blink cameras, they use just batteries. They work, it seems like forever. I've never had to replace my batteries yet. That's quite amazing. You don't have to pay for a service. You can monitor them from anywhere. They'll send you an alert with motion detection. It says, hey, there's something moving out there or in your house or in the backyard or by the front door or whatever it is. Do all of that. And all you have to do is go to blinkprotect.com/guntalk. You don't even need the code anymore. And you're going to get an extra 15% off when you go use that link, blinkprotect.com/guntalk. Simple as that. Paul called in earlier, said, hey, for local people selling guns, use Arms List, armslist.com. So you might check that out, see how that works for you. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, we're going to go to Dean on line 4 out of Granite Bay, California. Hey, Dean.
Hey, Tom. Hey, got a couple of questions for you. One's related to an Appleseed shoot, and the other is about old eyes. I'm 61. The first one, I've got a Ruger 1022, and I've looking at different barrels for it that I want to set up for the Appleseed. I'm looking at either a Green Mountain or an ER Shaw. And then it saw something about a Bentz chamber, Bentz. I'm not too familiar with that. Didn't know if you had any ideas on that.
I don't really have any thoughts on it. Both companies make good barrels. Not familiar with that chamber, but I know that there are people using chambers that actually improve the accuracy of the 22 rimfire. And so I would think probably, if you want to shop on price, you could probably do that, and it's probably not going to make any difference. Either one's going to be good for you.
Okay. And then what I'm going to put on it is a Ruger BX trigger. I checked it out in the store. Seems like it's pretty good.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to say that's the one thing you want to do is you definitely want the trigger that comes on the 1022 is okay, but even Ruger has kind of tacitly said, it could be better. Oh, yeah, we've got a better one now. So,
I checked it out at
put
the
better
store.
trigger
It's actually pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
nice.
I got a Hogue overmolded stock, and then on the Appleseed they said the TSR 100 sights, so I got those iron sights.
Oh, cool. We'll have a bunch of fun. All right, let's talk. Let's talk old eyes and bifocals.
Okay,
what are you doing?
I've got progressive I have progressive bifocals. I'm 61, and I was at the range the other day trying to sight in a rifle with iron sights, and for about the first 5 seconds, everything looked okay, and then it just fuzzed out. I had to look up and kind of clear my eyes. So
I can tell you what's going on. You probably figured it out. Here's what's going on. When you're shooting a rifle, you generally look through the top part of your glasses, and that's the wrong magnification for iron sights.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. And then I'm trying to look through the bottom, but with progressives, there's that sweet spot that you got to get your head just right.
I use progressives. Let me ask you a question. How is your distance vision without glasses?
Without glasses, probably about 50 feet, and then after that, everything looks like oatmeal.
One thing you may
I'm
want to
nearsighted with astigmatism.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Okay, I got it. All right, I'm going to have a 2-course path for you here. Okay, two different levels. The first one is going to cost you $20, so that's the cheaper version.
All right.
You're going to go to the drugstore or someplace, or even online at Amazon or someplace, and buy some stick-on bifocals, plastic stick-on bifocals that are labeled 2020 Optics, OPTX is the brand name.
2020, okay.
And probably if you're shooting a rifle, OPTX.
OPTX,
like optics.
Okay. Okay.
What you got? Do you shoot right or left-handed?
I'm right-handed, but left-eye dominant. I'm one of those weird people.
Like me. So you're shooting left. You're shooting using your left eye for shooting. Here's what you're going to do when you get this thing in, and probably for a long gun, I would probably get something like a 1.5 or a 2.0 magnification, and then it sticks onto your glasses with a drop of water. Just put a drop of water, and you stick this not on the bottom where bifocals go, but at the top of your lens.
Top, okay.
So when you put the rifle to your shoulder, you roll your head forward, that magnification comes in at the top of your lens, and all of a sudden the front sight is sharp again like it was 30 years ago.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
okay.
$20 and you're in. And you get a spare because you get 2 of them. You only need to put it on your shooting eye, not the other one.
So I want to use, for the bifocals, I'd want to use the close vision part, but you're saying put it on the top for the distance part.
Put it on the top. Yeah, that's right. You're going to be you're looking through the top of your glasses. Now, here's what happens. If that works for you, and if you want to invest in it, then when you go see your eye doctor, tell them, I want a pair of glasses just for distance. No bifocals built in. Single focal distance glasses that takes care of the astigmatism, and then you will use those for shooting with your stick-on bifocals at the top. Works for rifles and works for handguns.
Now I actually have that in my sunglasses, because when I went, I got regular bifocals, and then I got the sunglasses. Right. And I told them that I shoot, and I didn't want the bifocals in that. So I wonder if I can use my sunglasses and put that optics on it.
That's perfect platform. Try that. Try that. But the main thing is get these stick-ons and probably get something like maybe a 2.0 magnification. Try that and see how it works. Okay. I think you're going to love it, and then you're going to go, this is the coolest thing ever. I mean, really, once you start seeing that front sight sharp again, it's like, wow, this is great.
Oh, thank you so much. Great info.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with your shooting. It's going to work out well for you. I appreciate that. What are your little tricks for mastering, aging eyes or tired eyes? Have you ever had cross focus where your eyes get tired? The other eye starts taking over. If you're shooting right-handed, your left eye starts taking over. That's a weird deal, too. There's a way to function with that one. We can talk about that. Oh, yes, and those little stick-on, those are reusable. You can keep them forever. Well, actually, you keep them till you lose them like I do. 866-TALK-GUN, or just call me at Tom Talk Gun.
Tactical professionals who put their lives on the line every day depend on Surefire. Since 1979, Surefire has designed, machined, and assembled the finest flashlights and weapon-mounted lights right here in the U.S. From everyday carry flashlights with 1,200 lumens and mil-spec hard anodized finishes to the most reliable weapon lights on the market for duty use or your home defense firearm, Surefire has what you need. American built, American strong. Visit surefire.com.
If you carry a gun, you need training. Your concealed carry class was definitely not training. But time, money, and obligations keep you from spending days at a shooting school. The trusted folks at Gun Talk can help. Concealed Carry 1, our DVD featuring the VADA Group, covers what gun, what holster, how to carry, where to wear your gun, and much more. Visit shopguntalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com. Look, this really is life and death. Learn how to stay aware, how to get away, and how to fight if you must. At shopguntalk.com, you can get the 2 DVD set, including Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. No matter what gun you carry, this vital training info can save your life. Learn the draw, the stance, reloading, vital gear from Gun Talk. That's shopguntalk.com. shopguntalk.com.
When you want the highest quality ammunition, look to HSM. Since 1968, hunters and shooters have counted on HSM cartridges, including world-renowned Trophy Gold, featuring Berger VLD bullets, Pro Pistol Hunter, Cowboy Action, and the new Game King, featuring field-proven Sierra bullets. HSM's new revolutionary low-recoil rifle loads hit game hard, but kick much less. Low-recoil loads use standard weight for caliber Sierra hunting bullets in 7 popular calibers. HSM at your local shooting sports retailer.
It's the next generation target pistol, the SW22 Victory from Smith & Wesson. Stainless steel frame, interchangeable match barrel, thumb safety, fiber optic sights, and a Picatinny rail. The SW22 Victory is ready for anything, targets or small game. Also available with a threaded barrel or cryptic camo finish. And it's backed by the Smith & Wesson Lifetime Service Policy. Learn more about the SW22 Victory at smith-wesson.com.
And we get more range reports. We get this email from Art. Says, I just purchased the Sky CPX-1 9mm and have had it out to the range a couple of times. It's a fine shooting little pistol. The only thing about it is it's DAO. That's a double action only, for those of you who don't know, which means I have to get more familiar with the trigger. But it's a nice carry gun for an old guy like me. Thanks, Art, in Sparks, Nevada. And for those who think it can't get any crazier, yes, it can. And the takeaway I want you to have from this is, don't think this can't happen here. It's already being tried here. This is out of Great Britain. Britain's Poundland discount chain, one of its largest chains of discount stores, has announced it will stop selling, wait for it, kitchen knives in all of its stores to help tackle soaring youth violence. The company, whose stores have been a major fixture on UK high streets since 1990, is the first major retailer to go ahead. Notice this, the first major retailer to go ahead with the anti-knife measure recently recommended by a judge, and other brands are expected to follow suit. As of Friday, kitchen knives are no longer available at any of its 59 West Midlands branches. Holy cow. Reportedly suffering, quote, epidemic levels of violence, the West Midlands has the fastest growing rate of knife crime outside London, where the company banned blade sales in April after the capital saw 35 deadly stabbings in the first few months of 2018. Knife crime. Gee, that sounds an awful lot like what the media says here. Gun crime. No, it's just crime, no matter what the tool is. And addressing it by trying to restrict a tool does not make bad people better. By the way, I want to return for just a second. Charles, don't go anywhere. I'm going to get to you in Sparks. I mentioned this video out of Milwaukee of the guy in the restaurant who's yelling at the waitress for being too slow. Then he walks up, because the woman manager, starts telling him, knock it off. He walks up and just hammers this woman, just punches her. And the waitress, then he goes after the waitress, and the waitress pulls a gun and points it at him. That's a good thing. I would have shot the guy about a half a dozen times. People say, well, he didn't have a gun. I don't care. Let me explain that. I don't care if you had a gun. He just showed a propensity to use lethal force. What do you mean, Tom? All he did was punch somebody. A lot of people have been killed with one punch. One punch has killed people. And not everybody who gets shot dies. Okay, so having a gun does not mean you're going to die, but it is considered lethal force. And punching someone out is absolutely and can be lethal force. He has assaulted this person right in front of you, violently, viciously, and now he's coming after you and he's 3 steps away? No, I'm not pointing the gun at him and saying, stop. I'm pointing the gun at him and I'm going to put a number of rounds into the middle of his chest. Done and done. Yeah, I can argue that one in court. Yes, I can support that one in court. Okay? Just some food for thought for you there. Line 3, Charles is with us out of Sparks, Nevada. Charles, I was talking about these stick-on bifocals, and you got even more help.
Yes, although the brand I'm most familiar with, there are other makes out there that do the same thing. It's called Champion shooting glasses, and they have a special frame that lets you move your lens around so it's in the proper position. You need to work with your optometrist to get the right prescription for the basic lens that you'll put in it. But they also sell bump lenses that you can put on top of your existing lens, your existing prescription, so you can tune it to the best thing for you. And then they also have a camera iris that goes on top of the whole thing so you can adjust it for depth of field.
Okay, yeah, and I'm familiar with that concept of basically, it's like you say with a camera lens, as you stop down, that is, you make the hole smaller, your depth of field increases. You can actually, for those who don't know, and you probably have already done this, one of the things you can do if you want to experience that, if you take off your glasses and make a hole like the OK sign with your thumb and forefinger and just make the hole smaller and smaller, till there's just a pinprick and put it right up to your eye and everything gets sharp again because you're basically stopping down and increasing depth of field. So Champion Shooter Supply is a great source for that. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate that. And by the way, those stick-on bifocals I was talking about, Optics 2020, they go up to the top. They're plastic. They stick on. You take them. You can peel them off. You can save them, put them back on, just a drop of water. No one's ever used spit on there. No, of course not. And the rest of the time, when you're just looking through your glasses, you're looking below the bifocals on sunglasses or anything else, so you're not getting that magnification, so it doesn't bother you. You can walk around and do whatever you need to do. It's a cool solution. 866 Talk Gun. This is Tom Gresham, and it's Gun Talk. is fighting words for my friends in other states. Article, Idaho named state most reliant on gun industry. Basically saying Idaho has more gun industry jobs per capita and highest total gun industry output per capita. Says it was tied with New Hampshire, one of those, I think it was, and is within the top 10 for gun prevalence, that is lots of guns, and gun politics. Other states in the top 5 are Montana, Alaska, South Dakota, and Wyoming. And as my friend Art just sent me a note, says, oh, yeah, well, I'm from Utah, and I have a problem with that. I love the quotes in the story. He said, being from Idaho, we like guns. Our Second Amendment rights are pretty important to us, so anybody that frowns on that probably won't get into office, and therefore they can't influence the industries. Yeah, there are a lot of gun companies and gun-related businesses in Idaho. Well, it's a good place to be. I'm actually in Idaho at the moment as I speak to you. And as I was driving up the road, I see a sign. How did they put it? It was like a sign on the side of a white cargo trailer, just like a regular trailer you'd pull behind a car. And it was ammunition seconds on sale. And there's a small outfit making ammo. I don't even know the name of the place. It's not a major company, although there are major ammo companies in Idaho. You go to Lewiston, you'll find ammo being made there by the millions of rounds, probably per day. But yeah, you have ammo seconds. All right, here's a question for you. Would you buy seconds in ammo? Yeah, I probably would. I mean, they're safe. A lot of times it's blemishes. It's the cases are not as either shiny or there's a scuff mark, and a lot of ammo companies will not let those out. But as long as they are functional, if they work right, and you're just going to use them at the range, why wouldn't you? I would use that. I wouldn't use it for self-defense. No. It's like, yeah, I saved 5 cents a round, and most of them went off. No. I have bought, well, they weren't seconds. They were fourths or fifths. Some really bad ammo. You remember back when we couldn't get ammo? I mean, we just couldn't find ammo anywhere. I found a supply of 9mm ammo. It turned out it was the weirdest selection. I mean, bulk stuff. I don't know where it came from or what countries in the world it came from, but it was the best stuff for doing malfunction drills because probably 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 30 rounds would not go off. And so you'd be shooting, go click, and then you tap rack, and, back on. It got to the point where, though, we just couldn't trust them because some were super hot. I think they might have been machine gun rounds, and some of the machine gun loads, military loads, are really hot. And then some were like little puff balls. And after a while, you're thinking, I know it was cheap, I know it was available, but no. Speaking of which, I did a thing the other day. I told you I was at FTW Ranch. Time for confession. We're shooting a .375 Ruger. Oh, wow, what an awesome cartridge. And we're doing quick shoots, reloads, and all of that. And I had one go off, and it just didn't feel right. The instructor said, shoot, reload. And I stopped. I said, no, it didn't feel right. Something sounded wrong. The recoil wasn't right. Turned out, in all of the different guns we had out there, I'd gotten a hold of a 300 Win mag case. And, yeah, it went off in there. Bullet went sideways, hit the target sideways. Of course, it didn't engage the rifling. But it was a little bit reduced recoil, and it was a different sound. And I have trained myself to pay attention because I didn't know if maybe I had a squib load and the bullet had gotten stuck in the barrel. That was my real concern. But it's just one of those deals of having too much ammo around, different calibers and all of that. Nobody got hurt. But if something doesn't sound right, feel right, smell right, whatever, stop. Figure out what's going on, okay? Hey, when we come back, let's talk about processing credit cards for gun companies. There's a new sheriff in town.